3 steps to winning in the new market, right? Sounds like boring title, but it's not, because we're in this new economy and it kind of sucks and it kind of doesn't. We're going to get started right now.
Right now?
Right now?
The little things that count.
I know. We need to shout out Jesse and Tor Studios to start this, because we've been griping about how we all looked at the beginning of this, and Jesse was like, "Hey, do you guys even notice that I changed out all of you at the beginning?"
I'll be honest, I don't look at it. It's like I don't look at the videos anymore. Sorry, Jesse, because you do an amazing job. But I don't want to just look at myself. Right? We already have the screen where I can see myself on it. It's like, ugh.
I never get tired of that. I just watch every episode I watch back, and I just fast forward to only the parts of it.
That's what he uses Opus for.
Yeah.
He just gets to his parts faster.
It's funny because it's true.
Semi-true.
Yeah. Our episode 203. Last week's show was a great show, first off. I mean, that was with the Note guy.
Eddie Speed.
Eddie Speed. Is that his real last name?
Yeah. I think it's about as unique as Force. He probably gets super tired of people like...
As unique as Force. I like how you brought your own last name into
No, I just
I think it's as unique as good.
It is, and good, right?
And Kelderman and Showalter.
We all...
No, we're not. Our names don't do anything. No. You guys can have whole like business mottos and branding off your last name.
Speed, Force, good.
That sounds like an automotive attorney
thing.
Well, and the thing is, if you go Google Kelderman, I'm actually not even what comes up. There is like a company that makes jacked up monster trucks. It's true.
Really?
Yeah.
I
checked it out.
Cool.
Yeah. Like the guy's last name's Kelderman.
You should be a spokesperson for it.
I know.
Should be. Yeah.
I should be.
But last week's show was good. Go check it out. Episode 202 with Eddie Speed, the Note guy. The Note King? What does he call himself? Note Doctor? Doctor of Notes?
Doctor of Notes.
The Note Master.
Yeah. I wish I was on that show. I just didn't know it was going to be recorded at that time.
Oh, okay. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
That was good.
I was like 900 text messages behind.
Oh, yeah.
On that one.
Nick does. He has. Nick's got like basic white girl phone, I say.
887 right now.
887 unread text messages. Not even emails.
Explain it to me, because like, how do you know that there's not one back in those 887?
I don't.
And then just reset the clock and just become a new person.
Just clear it out.
Sometimes at night, I'll go through and just click, click, click.
Okay.
That's what I do with my Google Voice, because I don't get anything there, but I don't want to get rid of it either, because like one person might still have that number.
Yeah, almost as unique as Smith, Theron Smith. So let's start the show off like
there we go.
Let's start the show off right today.
Too late.
Because we're talking about the 3 steps to winning in the new market, and look, that sounds like a boring freaking title, right? And I will say that Brian and I run another show called the More Doors podcast. That's about multifamily investing, and I was doing a pre-show interview with a gentleman we're going to have on tomorrow, and we were talking about this new economy and like the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's more ugly than it is good, and how people are navigating those waters. And so I'm like, as agents, I just got off a recruiting call with an agent who's joining EXP, and that was basically, they've been licensed since 2007. Yeah. And that's what she was needing, is kind of how to navigate these waters to make sure that she still takes business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've been licensed almost as long as I have. And it's just, we're all needing to get refreshed. And Kelderman, you said the same thing. So, as I want to share with what you talked about with me last week or sent me a text on, I'd like you to be vulnerable and kind of share on that. But, today's show, go support our sponsors, because they're really having to navigate this new world and the new real estate economy. So first and foremost, Mortgage Mike. If you're needing that stamp of approval.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And more than ever right now, you need to go shop to get that best rate. That's the reason why he's a broker. He can look at all the opportunities, all the loan products available out there. So get with Mortgage Mike. His website there is mmgloans.com or mortgagemike.com.
I talked to Mortgage Mike no less than 20 minutes
I know,
ago.
you're going
and
somewhere
in the background
Sunday.
He was stamping
approvals.
We are. You want to come?
We'll talk about that.
You know where it is, because it's Sunday and it's football season.
I know.
So it involves watching a lot of football.
It does, but you're going to a casino.
We were just going to go to the Choctaw because it's close to his house, and we were just going to watch football.
It's not close to our houses.
It's not close to our houses, but I'm not driving.
Yeah.
I don't
You have to drive to get there. to his house.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it
so
is. He does live far.
Mortgage Mike, that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. Call him and give him all the mortgage applications on Sunday, right? So mmgloans.com, and then once you do that, go support Theron Smith over at Armadillo Home Warranty. He's giving you that hard shell protection, throwing out the best home warranties on all the houses.
All of them.
Think about the worst house you can think of. He's going to warranty it.
100%
Yep.
for free.
Yes. So armadillo.1/tour, Tore. And then I was talking to Dana. Actually, I haven't yet because I'm waiting on a text back from her. How is it looking right now for property managers, right? We're seeing the transactions are kind of moving slower. You know, you're starting to see more people probably considering renting.
Yeah.
And if you're an agent that has that, you're kind of like, shit, that sucks.
Yep.
Because that could be a potential deal that falls apart.
Yep.
You know the best way to kind of save that? Go refer it over to Dana at Homeward Property Management and get a referral fee on it. If they're going to lease it out, you might as well get that. Make sure they're in great hands. It's going to come back to you if they decide to sell it and when they decide to sell it. So just go over to homewarddfw.com, talk with Dana, because she is seeing that uptick in people wanting to lease their house out because it's not moving as quickly as they thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
One side feeds the other in this business.
One side.
So when homes are taking a little longer
What
to
is
sell,
that? One side feeds the other.
I was trying to do like a balance scale thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I got it.
I've been thinking about this since this morning before.
A long time. A real long time.
No, we were talking. Yeah.
For ages.
I saw like a meme this morning, and we were talking about like the show was like kind of this new world or whatever. There's a lot of things about this new world that annoy me. I was gonna ask your guys' opinion. Like, what's your least favorite saying? That's like a common saying, because there's many new common sayings these days, and I have one that I continue to see. That every time I see it, I don't know why I have like a visceral reaction to it. It's so annoying to me. And I want to see if either of you thought the same thing organically. So like things that people say or like sayings that are common now, is there one that just drives you nuts?
I like Kelderman's good at these.
There's plenty that drive me nuts, but I'm in a phase right now where Luke is 9 years old and he's talking like one of these Gen Z people. Like he's calling everything mid, and which is awesome. Which is awesome. And the other day he said something about like I'm not going to stand for this disrespect or something. Like there's some say I don't know, but he said the other day I asked him how something was, and he looks at me and goes, "It's mid," and I was like, "Bro, I want to slap every other kid who says that." But you just said it, and now I'm like, that is fucking hilarious.
It is. Or NPC.
Yes, we talk about NPCs in our house all the time.
Don't be an NPC.
So like that's what I'm talking about. Calling people NCPs is like NPCs
yeah.
is like a common thing nowadays.
NPC means non-player character, by the way.
So
we
I
have
see that all
full-on
the time.
conversations around: are we NPCs in somebody else's
Yes.
world, or are they NPCs in ours?
Oh jeez.
And then we like try and like with the guy who like there's a dude at our Tom Thumb who is there every single time we go, and he's always doing the same 3 jobs. Right, and I'm like, does this guy like in my world?
Yeah.
He is just an NPC at Tom Thumb. That guy has no other life to me
Yeah.
whatsoever.
He doesn't go home. He just
does these
he just-
3 things. He's always there at the exact same time. Like he just wanders through Tom Thumb until it's time for me to come back, and then he activates again. Starts talking to people.
I think we all have that. You're so right. I got that same guy at Whole Foods that stocks avocados. That's
Same
the only way this guy and I know one another exists. He's stocking them. I'm trying to find the right one to eat that morning. He's always like, "Hey, did you find a good one? We'll see you tomorrow." And then he shuts off when I leave the store.
So what is your saying though?
I saw mine is so and so understood the assignment. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is like the most annoying thing that people say. And I don't even know. I'm trying to be self-aware enough to know that like I'm a jerk for thinking that's annoying, but I don't know why it annoys me. I just when I read or hear that, it makes me feel like whoever said that is the dumbest person in the world.
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
I get annoyed when stuff gets overused and it reaches a certain segment of population that you know shouldn't be using it.
Like grandma and grandpa are like,
yeah, dude, it can
Brian's
be,
understood the assignment.
It can be anything, because even now at 44, I find myself doing this sometimes. Like I caught myself. I used the word lit one time. I heard it come out of my mouth, and I was like, "Nope, that's not my word.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never using that word again." So sometimes it's the person saying that too. It's like, bro, you are trying so
This
hard
listing
right
is
now.
lit.
Yeah, see, it's like,
It's not a mid.
no, like I'm mad at you now.
Yeah, this is not an NPC. This house is not an NPC.
I do that sometimes, but I do it in a way that is like a bastardization of my respect for the situation. Like I'll call things tight sometimes, but people know that when I say it's tight, it's like I don't really care what you're saying right now, and I probably wasn't listening, so I'll be like, oh, it's tight. Right? And I'll actually mean it. It means that I wasn't taking what you said seriously.
I've also adopted the word instead of saying okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've taken some of that on too.
That's fun to type.
There's some that are just fun to bring back too.
Yeah.
I've never really left rad behind.
Yeah.
Like I've always had
I don't
it
say
with
rad as much, but like if you see something, I'm just like bet or word.
Yeah.
I think we should bring back fat. PH.
PHAT.
Yeah.
I like that
That's
one.
another one that seems to be lingering on the
fat.
edges too.
Yeah.
Everything 90s apparently can come back because I've been noticing that.
By the way, this is 3 steps to winning the new economy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the new
one
market.
step
gotta
one,
get
step
your
one is
vocabulary right.
stop worrying so damn much.
Yeah,
And,
look, and it may be like let's really
that is
break
for
it
real,
down.
my
yeah,
step one.
let's break it down. Jesse, if you can pull up some of the comments if we actually have any. Sorry, nope. Only Theron.
Just Theron.
Yeah, just
Thanks,
Theron
Theron.
today.
Always.
Everyone else.
At least he's not Facebook user
Yeah,
anymore.
and yeah, that's true. But I will say, like, you know, when we were titling this out, I was like, man, this is a boring. It's boring. 3 steps to this. Fuck. Like you start hearing that, or how to take more business, and like, well, I need just regular business, not more. I'm not even taking enough to get more.
Sure.
Right. And
Some
so
more or what?
yeah, you want us more? Yeah. But you know, Kelderman sent a text last week. He's like, you know what? Screw this.
Yeah.
Screw this. Like, what else are we going to sell to make money? Because I don't want to go through this new real estate market or this current real estate market. And I'm like, you know, you're not the only one feeling that way. In fact, I would probably say the majority of real estate agents are probably feeling this.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you sent the text. A lot of us are just living in denial.
That is actually, you accidentally just drove right into the first point that I wanted to make. Part of this, that for me, was also just hearing other people. The first thing that you need to understand is this is not easy for anybody. All of us are struggling to talk about 8% rates. All of us are struggling to explain to sellers why they've had 3 showings in 4 weeks, right? Like, it's tough across the board. So know that you're not alone. And I think part of getting through this is accepting the fact that this is going to be a little bit difficult, because that is, I was telling you guys, we're taking a trip next week that's probably ill-advised from the standpoint of the highest and best use of my time right now. I know going into Q4, every Q4 feels like a kick in the sack, right? This one's probably going to feel a little bit extra worse, right? I know that in order to get through that, I'm going to have to grind. I'm going to have to fill up my pipeline. I know the spring will be fine. Like, I know all of the emotions that are coming. And I also realize that this isn't the type of market where I'm going to run and find me a buyer tomorrow, right? At least for Matt Kelderman's way of maneuvering through business. So you know what I am going to do? I'm going to take an opportunity to turn a trip into Tucson, into a trip to the Grand Canyon, and spend a couple extra days with my wife. And keep it affordable, because I want to be budget conscious, because checks aren't just flowing in like they were since COVID. But also to kind of put this part of my world behind me and talking about all of the terrible things and the fear of buyer's commission, all this other stuff, and just go look at the grander picture for a couple of days and then come back to it. I don't know if that's how you felt. I mean, I'll use you just because you just went on something and we talked a little bit today. I think part of getting through this is also taking a step back from it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the way that I look at it, I mean, business, you know, overall, our business at the Good Home Team, at least, is up, right? But you know, when you look at the big picture, that sounds great. But when you look at the micro, you also have to look at, well, every month you have a P&L.
Yeah.
And right, August P&Ls were not great. I'm going to assume I got to go look at September. September is probably not as good in terms of you start running your cost. And so, you know, when you really look at this, I'm like, man, do I really want to fight through this? This is what we've set up. This is what we've asked for. We asked for, you know, what did we say during COVID? This can't last forever, and we actually need the reset to happen. But you're also saying that when you're making a shit ton of money.
You guys, my dad, for some reason, when he comes on, is like the best at remembering episode numbers. I don't remember what episode number it was, but like we talked about this episode 124. Who knows? 2 years ago or whatever. We legitimately, I remember a distinct conversation we had around like the thing that's like, because we were talking about, that was back when like everybody's like the crash is coming, and then people were like, well, no, because they got too much equity and all this type of stuff. And we actually talked about on the show is like, there's not necessarily a crash, but like the worst thing that could happen is that rates go up and nobody wants to buy or sell, and there's just like a freeze.
Yes.
You know? Like we talked about that with a lot of confidence back then when it hadn't manifested itself
Correct.
yet. But we distinctly discussed this.
And look, we have when you're winning at the time or bringing a lot of business, you feel that confidence level because you're riding that high.
Yeah.
Right. And then once you get into this darkness, you're like, man, can we go back to that?
Well, yeah. Every Monday morning is going to be great on Sunday night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's when you got to get up at 5 a.m. on Monday morning. We're in the shitty part of this. This is like by any cliche, you're in the part of this that you don't want to do, that you have to tell yourself you have to do.
Here's what I will say, just so. I mean, this could be something just because I don't want people to tune out sooner, so they don't, and I don't want them to miss this. Is that the good news is my belief and a lot of others' belief is that we're already probably through we're already past the middle stage of this.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of times when you look up and realize like we're not in the beginning, you don't feel actually the pain in the beginning.
Yeah.
You feel the pain towards the middle or past the middle, which means that next year, 2024, we're going to start to come out of that. Mm-hmm. So realistically, I believe there's some thought it's going to be first Q1 of 24. I don't think it's going to be that soon. I think it's going to be more
That's
towards
like 8 weeks from now.
Dang. Well, then the show's over. Everything's good.
Oh no, it's sooner than we think.
No, it is. It is. But I believe it's going to happen probably towards the later half. I mean, look, we have an election year next year.
Yep.
You know, rates cannot survive going up that high.
Sure.
And then you'll start to see that. All right, they did choke out a lot. Mm-hmm. We're going to have some hardships elsewhere. And they're going to have to eventually start bringing that back down.
Well, and look, I'm not gonna veer off on a political tangent here, and I certainly am not one of the smartest people about this. But logic leads me to believe, if we look around at the political landscape right now, we have a current person who in office who everybody's not super stoked about financially, right? We have what very much appears to be a rerun of 2020. Like, let's just be honest. I think we both know who we're going to be choosing. Everybody knows who we're going to be choosing between November of next year, right?
Running it back.
We're running this thing back, right? And depending on how the next year goes, I don't have a clue. But to your point, there's no way interest rates tend to get worse, or it seems like that's going to be a pretty lopsided victory going the other direction in November of next year.
Correct.
So it seems like current administration is going to do everything they can to get this under control before next spring.
Yeah, and here's the good news with that, right? So as we're kind of starting to feel that, like Brian said, we have 8 weeks until 2024.
Yeah.
Right?
10 weeks. Let's not lose those 2 weeks. It's only middle of October.
So 10 weeks.
You guys are trying to roll us all the way to November 1st. It's only October 11th.
That's fair.
Jeez.
10 and a half.
Let's let this month breathe. It just fucking started.
Yeah, I haven't even watched Hocus Pocus yet.
Look, the new one's actually pretty good.
No, you were the one that turned me on to the new one. It is good.
But as we look at all this and say, all right, step one is understanding that we are in an over 8% real estate and over 8% interest rate market, and guess what? Homes are still selling. Are they selling? Are they flying off the shelves? No, right. But homes are still selling. So there are people getting their share. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, then we need to look at why that is.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, to go back to what Matt said before, part of this does start with acknowledgement and getting a little distance from it. Just listen to my words for a second when I say it is okay to just embrace that this is a more difficult chapter and just it's not your fault. Don't judge it, right? Like I was in the Gary Mastermind last year, Q1, and we have this thing where we're like, it's taboo to predict that the market of tomorrow will be more difficult than today in real estate. Like if anybody asks a realtor, how's the market? You're supposed to say it's amazing all the time. And in certain respects, it always can be. There's always opportunities, right? One of the things Gary was very adamant and just honest in saying is like, next year's not going to be your best year financially. It can be your best year in other ways, right? And that's not to downplay, the available transactions, the amount of people vying for those transactions, and what that does for making the finances a little bit more difficult. So I'm not saying that that's not a real and very present thing in a lot of people's businesses. What I'm saying is there are so many different elements to improving your business, your life, your quality of living, everything. Like this is a great time and opportunity that we have to step back and get a little bit of distance from the idea that I have to sell more houses every year to feel good about myself.
That is exactly it. It is. We are in an industry that we ask, how many houses do you sell and what was your GCI? And people talk about these things so freely. Yep. Like, you wouldn't go up to somebody in your corporate office and be like, hey, what's your salary this year? Like, exactly. In this industry, we just do that and we answer that question. And I think that creates this feeling that if I say a number that's lower than a number I've previously said, I am the asshole here.
Yes. You feel like you're losing.
Or you feel like you're losing, like, or whatever it is.
And you can fall into a depression that way.
Yeah, very much so.
And look, and I'm only going to say this once because I don't want to make this an EXP thing. This is what EXP has allowed for my mindset. So this is not, don't take this as a pitch, please.
Sure.
Is that the understanding of all right, we still get to sell houses. And it doesn't always have to be more because then you can create the freedom opportunity, right? And that gets shit on a lot anyway. But what do we do in real estate, regardless of brokerages? We go to sell houses, but when we sell enough, what do we do with our money? Typically, we try to go buy rentals or buy something that's going to create cash flow because what is the ultimate goal? Time freedom.
Yes.
Well, if you're selling more houses, you don't have more time freedom.
That is super true.
I had this conversation with Victoria today, and for me, it was the mental, the visualization of this. When I was just selling houses, now we have Homeward and we have some other things that come in every month. And I had never experienced this until I started another business with you guys, right? It had always been go bartend and work for money or go sell houses and work for money. Here's the crazy thing about when you have some of this other residual income, whatever it's coming in from, right? When I see money going out every month and all I'm doing is selling houses, I can very easily then look at my deals board and see how there's no money coming in.
Yes.
And I can say, well, shit, my monthly budget is $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 a month. That $7,000 is going to keep coming out every single month.
Right.
You know what's really great about having a little bit of residual income right now? That money goes out every month, and maybe you don't make it all back, right? Because your other residual income's not built up. But it's not a complete depletion of your water tank, right? Maybe 7,000 goes out, but oh, look, 4,000 came back in.
Yep.
And that makes it sustainable for a while. I've said it before, when funds are low, shit must go. You can find things in your life to get rid of financially to get to a certain number. But when nothing is coming in, that will paralyze some people. I know it paralyzed me into almost doing less.
Jesse,
right?
hold that thought, Brian. And this is not, I'm not making any point here. Jesse, did the tour studio, did we start a tour studio store?
Not a tour studio. We are in the process of starting a tour podcast store.
A tour podcast store. So
for merchandise.
For merch, right? That's
We're
what
not
the, that's
there
what
yet.
the kids.
Call it merch.
This merch is lit.
It is super.
It's not mid merch.
It's not mid in any way.
Fat.
But it's fat, right?
But also we have small sizes.
Speak for yourself. Oh, there's no small. I do want that saying on there, though. I want Kelderman's face on it that says, when funds are low, shit must go. Kelderman's face that. I want that selling on the merch store.
Dude, I think that's a good one.
There's so much there like that. I love that saying, first of all. And it's like super true because one of the things that I think like it's one of the hardest Band-Aids to rip off when we get through a time of exuberance where we're making a very high income every single month. It almost feels like it'll never stop. And then we let that life creep sink in. It feels like a part of our identity is being robbed of us when we have to go, I can't do this right now. I have to get rid of this expense. It feels like a defeat.
It does.
Just allow me to give you permission that is not the case. Don't see it that way. You are enough. No one gives a shit about what you spend your money on. If you need to spend less, right? Like
and you have frivolous spending. Like this isn't a budget
we all
show,
do.
but like you have stuff that like it would probably be fine if it was gone.
Yes. It would be. And you can take that same ideology. Most of this, and this is, I think, the biggest lesson that I've learned as a human being through the last 12 to 18 months is you are not what you do. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And we, through this time of a very exuberant, market financially, many of us have just attached the identity of the person that we are with the level of success that we've achieved in some particular regard. And that's not even necessarily ultimate success. I know a lot of people, we all know a lot of people that were very financially successful the last few years that are completely miserable. I wouldn't actually consider them successful people.
Yeah.
We have attached our identity to our ability to make monthly money through one avenue. And so one thing, give yourself permission to preserve capital that you can that you need to preserve at this particular time without it being a threat to the human being that you are, because you are not, I don't want to sound super Fight Club, but you are not your job, you are not your couch, you are not all of those things. And also, you don't need to necessarily be professionally even the same person or business that you used to be. One of the things that's been a blessing in this particular market is that if you're not like showing buyers 1,000 houses because they don't have an extra 100,000 in the bank and they can't get their deal, or they can't get a home under contract because they can't compete, and all the things that used to suck up our time. If you can allow yourself to disconnect from the emotional side of this and go, I need to find different ways to create revenue with the skill set that I have, I will tell you, they're out there. You could literally, even wholesalers right now are sending actionable flips through the pipeline every single day. If you learn how to take advantage of those opportunities, or whatever it is, owner finance deals, building your rental, whatever it is, you're an expert in real estate. You don't necessarily need to utilize the part of your real estate expertise that is just helping buyers and sellers as your primary source of that skill set right now. Allow yourself to disconnect from, maybe we won't help as many buyers or sellers this year, but what else can we do with the skills that we've acquired to drive more revenue in this market? And if you look at it that way and get excited about it, it will bring a new level of energy to what you're doing.
Sure, and to piggyback off that, like if we go through step 2 on this, is really money changes hands when problems are solved.
Yeah.
So when we look at it and say, I get a little, I love what you just said. There's a little concern that I would have on how people may interpret what you said, is that we don't want to half-ass things, right?
Sure.
Because what ends up happening is people's eyes start to look everywhere.
Yes.
And they're like, ooh, I'll go down this path because I think money's here. I go down this path over here. And then all of a sudden we lose focus on what was going to get us through this in the first place.
Sure.
Which is, we need to say, all right, how are we going to solve people's problems right now? And in my opinion, right, this is something that I've been telling Kelderman and others when they're like, man, I need to get buyers. And I'm like, if you go listen to the last couple shows that we talk about this lawsuit, and now we see the settlements that are happening about buyer commission, I want to be able to control how much money I make, correct?
Right.
So I'm going to do that through listings, right? Gary and MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, talked about leads, listings, leverage.
Yes.
I've always focused my area of expertise on listings. And I can say that, number one, who struggles the most in this? For sale by owners.
Yeah.
Right? Then expires and cancels. And it sucks calling them at times. I get it.
There's a lot of them, though.
Yep, there's a lot, and there's a lot of opportunity. So then also to piggyback off what Brian said about, hey, let's use our real estate expertise in a way that we probably haven't done before. You're calling these sellers, or you're reaching out to these sellers, however that may be, whether it's a postcard, whether you're dropping by, door knocking, whether you're sending text messages, you're stalking them on Facebook or whatever. It used to be easier to do that back in the day. But you now can offer solutions. If you go and analyze what is the problem that they're experiencing, why did their house didn't sell? They're probably going to give you some type of objection. They're probably going to not trust you. But the more that you come and seek from understanding and say, look, I understand this freaking market sucks. You were trying to sell. It didn't sell for whatever reason. Maybe it was the agent. Maybe it's the market. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's presentation. Maybe it's price. Probably price.
Yeah.
And it was probably your agent setting the tone at a higher price. That's probably their fault. Or a portion of it is their fault. And if you could set them up and say, hey, we've got XYZ, whether that's an instant offer, and we can look at wholesaling it, or we can look at bringing an investor in and I'll just collect my commission. Or do we need to look at recalculating their price? Because ultimately they said XYZ. There's going to be people that are in financial troubles right now. They're probably aren't going to tell you the truth, and you need to go and seek clarity and search for understanding of what they're going through. But on the step 2 portion of this is really saying, hey, there is opportunity here,
Yes.
but we have to work it.
Adjust your and don't give you please do not give yourself permission to just run in a million different directions, right? Like, don't stop trying to do your primary vocation. I more so meant take your skills that you have, adjust your mofer, right? Like, adjust your offer, your message. Does that mean you're dialing expireds and figuring out a way to make guaranteed cash offers right now? That's going to take some legwork on your part to hook up what the financing strategy would be and things like that. But if you've never done that before, now's a great time to learn rather than sitting around and just being emotional about where things are.
And I actually, to meld y'all's points together, I was sitting here thinking, like, I just went through and literally left almost every group and every Facebook page that I'm a part of that is not relevant to, like, one, it was a shocking amount of them, but it was to clear out all of this noise. I feel like we do a good job of talking about these things, but also being solutions oriented. The reality is, the newsfeed section of Real Estate Mastermind or Lab Coat Agents, it's a fucking mess, right? It's negativity, it's people bitching at each other. You're not going to get anywhere there. Yeah. The cool thing about this market is, because it is a little bit slower, you can also move a bit slower. And I don't mean that as in doing nothing. I mean that is, if your excuse for not calling expireds has always been, I don't want to call at 8 a.m. I don't want to get on a dialer because it's too fast. Okay, cool, then don't. Call at 10 a.m. Look up the listing before you call, right? Do a little bit of research that makes you feel more comfortable with the call, and then call them. The speed to lead, the over-the-top value prop, you actually have a little space in this market to become a bit more of an expert on these things by moving a bit slower on new shit you're going to try out. Because what you're talking about is exactly true, too, in the fact that I just sent a text message to an agent who was asking me questions about potentially moving and doing some other stuff. And I just told her, I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now, I've known you for a while, and you will not have success if your level of effort that you're putting in now is the same level of effort you've been putting in. Your brokerage isn't going to matter. Your situation is not going to matter at all if you continue to do the exact same stuff. And that's, Gary said it, and I think sometimes we've been hearing shit for 10 years and we forget that there are new agents out there or agents at smaller brokerages who don't get this kind of stuff. You are just going to have to do 2 or 3 times what you feel like the normal amount of work is to be successful in this. If you're trying to skirt that part, we don't have a solution.
Well, that's step 3 is set your metrics, right? And we need to, this is the best time to operate within your metrics. And that could be, again, in certain states you can't cold call. Like, you can't call expireds, right? So find a different way. How can you attract them in? There's ways. I guarantee you I could find a way to still reach out.
People are selling houses in every state. Yeah. All of those
people
consumers
master
in those
expires
states,
and cancels in every state.
Yeah,
as well.
they just don't just like call random real estate agents. There are real estate agents out there finding business for themselves.
And everywhere. You set metrics for everything. Like Brian and I for company at Deep Blue Capital, like we have a metric of like, all right, how many deals can we underwrite? How many offers can we send out? Right? If you set that, eventually with that, we'll have a metric that funnels down that says, all right, for every 30 deals we underwrite, whatever it is, let's call it 100 deals that we underwrite, we're going to send out 50 LOIs. We're probably only going to get into conversation with 10 of them, and from those 10, we're probably if we're lucky, we buy one. Yeah. Right? So what is your KPI on that you're going to set? Is it going to be, I'm going to reach out to 10 new people every day, 5 days a week? Yep. Right? That's 50 people. Reach out means actually have a conversation. Yes. Are you actually going to, maybe you just set a tone, maybe you don't want to make calls. And I get that, that's okay. Maybe you send out, and if you have a little bit of money, just send out direct response letters and say, I'm going to send out 50 of them a day. Yeah. Or maybe 100. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, that's been something that just hasn't really been required of agents for a long time.
Look, we've gotten lazy.
It's just so funny that we're having this conversation now, just only because that was just a day in and day out way of doing business all the way up until 2020. Yeah. Really, we're just kind of rehashing the way that things always were. You need to be. You need to be taking massive amounts of action, tracking what works, really leaning into it. I think the other thing to really focus on here is this has been a kind of prevailing theme the whole time, is like not sinking into the negativity. When you approach your activities from a place of passion and exuberance and energy, you'll get more out of them. If you're afraid of this market or talking about it, or you feel really negative towards it, really no amount of lead generation is probably going to get you to where you want to go, because you're kind of manifesting that. A lot of this is like Matt said before, taking a step back, being a little disconnected from this market. It is what it is. I'll tell you right now, if I was going to buy a house right now as a single family homestead, I would kind of rather take my available options right now to be able to negotiate and not have to come out of pocket with extra cash, and probably be able to get a seller buy down and all that type of stuff. I would take my odds in this market probably better than I would have 2 years ago. I truly believe that, because I believe I have much more power as a buyer right now, and that's how I talk to people about the market. And so if you're coming from this kind of, almost defensive or fearful state around the market, that's a little bit of your emotions and fear around it sinking in. You gotta get past that.
When her group very first started, one of the very first agents I ever partnered with was this guy named John, and I remember he was a new agent, and I remember him saying to me one time, like, well, that house is $400,000. I'd never pay $400,000 for a house. And I just remember, like, in my mind, so many things popped up, like, A, are you even talking about specific neighborhoods? Like, because $4,000 house in Highland Park would be a steal, right? So, like, and two, like, who gives a shit what you would do? Like, you're not, like, are we shopping for John's house today? Because if we're not, and I think this is what real estate agents, they do the latter part of that a lot.
Yeah.
They believe that it's not a good situation, and therefore that's their conversation with everybody. I would think the skill that could be worked on the most in this market, and I know it's definitely the skill that I work on the most in this market, is just asking questions and then shutting up, right? Like, you're going to find out if you do decide to call expireds or for sale by owners or do open houses, the place where you're going to talk to the most ready-to-go people, you're going to have conversations around the market. The easiest way to have conversations about the market is stop thinking that you need to know everything about the market. Ask them a question, and they'll kind of tell you what problem you need to solve for them. Yeah. Nick talking about money changes hands when problems are solved. Yes, that's a saying. Guess how easy it is to solve the problems when you're listening to the person who has the problem tell you what the problem is, right? Instead of just telling everybody 8% interest rates, market's terrible, don't do anything.
Yeah, you would be amazed that most of, like, the everyday buyer and seller, their problems don't have anything to do with interest rates.
No.
First off, anybody looking to buy right now probably wasn't looking to buy in the 3% interest rate era. We're far enough removed from that now. They might have been looking in the 6% era, but not in the 3%.
Every single client that I have helped for the past 60 days and the couple that I'm working with currently, and all of them are doing it for reasons that have financial implications, but the main catalyst is not financial.
Right.
Like, one, it's health, right?
Yeah.
It's nobody's like, hey, I'm trying to cash in the most money. So stop thinking that money is the only conversation you'd be having with people. That kind of proves you're not paying attention in the first place.
It's one thing. It's thing that we think about way more than the consumers.
Yes.
And so people move for like 1,100 different reasons that have nothing to do with interest rates. And I think that you're right. If we take that focus into our business, especially our lead generation, and we stop lead generating and having conversations with ourselves that are just this endless repeat cycle of rates are high, but inventory is low, but just get that out of your mind and out of your vocabulary, and just do the work you need to do every day. It doesn't mean it's going to be last year or 2 years ago again, but I think so much of our time is spent in periods of inactivity because we're focused on the negative that we're not taking enough action.
Well, I think it's our job, again, it's our job to change the narrative, like you said. And, I did this when I was at EXPCon, I was in Vegas for 5 days, which can be a long time. Yeah. Yes. And so there's part of it where I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to go out and drink tonight. I still did. But at that time, I did not. And so there was this post that I saw Tristan make in Lab Coats. And there's two posts I saw. So, what Kelderman left Lab Coats because he's like, it's all negative. And Tristan actually made a post that said that kind of the same thing. He's like, if it's negative or this, everyone jumps in and comments. But if it's positive or it's coming from that, or it's again, the 3 steps to winning in the new market, hardly any responses. Yeah. Right? Because everyone's just attracted to the shit, the negative. Yeah. And so I saw a post that he made, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this into a video and a reel to send out to the database. So I put it on TikTok and Instagram Reel, and it was the line graph that shows that right now it's almost as cheap, median price wise, to buy a brand new construction home than it is to buy a pre-owned home. And so if I'm an agent, I'm going to show where the opportunity is right now, because this is a small window of opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? The median price was like $414, and the median price of a pre-construction or a pre-owned home is $396.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking at that, and I'm like, all right, where's the opportunity? Well, I'm going to tell my buyers right now, how many offers are we getting from new construction builders right now in our inbox is saying 4.99% interest rate, right? Offering all these incentives to come buy their properties.
Yep.
Why are agents not pushing buyers to this opportunity? Because there's your window right now.
It's another area where most realtors lack education. Yeah. They don't know how to interact with builders. They don't know what, I mean, you talk to builder reps, good ones who've been around for a while, and you ask them what the biggest difficulty in their job is. It's agents coming in and mucking up the deal, right? Like it is. And this I think is the overarching, we're going all the way back to February of 2020 now, like well over 3 years. People that we would call seasoned real estate agents have never worked in a market that wasn't a COVID-based market, right? Like really deep into this. Now, 3.5 years since we locked everything down. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's
right?
a long time.
It's a long time. So we have people who haven't really had to do things this other way. Right, there's a lot of agents who not saying they're not hardworking. They're just, the market has provided you with different opportunities, and I think what we're seeing right now, on top of the fear, is also that people just don't have the information, the data, or the education around these topics to be able to feel good about them, much less convey it. Like, we talk about this stuff a lot. I bet most agents who hear us saying that is like, well, that's great, but I don't even know anything about that. Cool, then you need to understand it at a higher level. Like, there's shit that I don't understand that you guys talk about, right? But if it's part of your ultimate plan and game plan, whether it be new construction is what got me off on this tangent. That's a perfect example of a place where I think agents do not have near enough knowledge, where there is money just laying on the ground to be picked up in the form of commissions. Well, and you're helping your client.
You're helping your client. So again, and this is something as a listing agent, you should know that, right? If I'm going to list a home right now and I'm in an area that I'm competing against new construction, guess what? I'm going to advise that seller, especially finding out why they need to sell. I'm going to ask that seller and advise them that we need to be so ultra competitive on our list price, because right now, unless they're willing to offer the same incentives, the same style upgrades, and make it feel like a brand new home, you're not going to compete. Because are you going to go to something that's already lived in or something brand new if you're getting a super low rate because they're buying the rate down? They're
paying for title.
They're offering massive upgrades.
Getting the warranty.
Yeah, you're getting a 2-year, the what, one, was it 2-5-10 or whatever? Yeah, 2-5-10.
1-2-10?
1-2-10.
1-2-10.
Yeah. There is a 2-5, but there's a 1-2-10 warranty.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is I just think that a lot of this, it comes down to not understanding the products. Like, I actually love that you just brought that up, because I'm kind of speaking to myself on the new construction thing. That is an area where for years I have always been, I wouldn't say confused. I have not been the best new construction agent for people. I probably have clients who would benefit from that route, but I don't typically work in those areas, or they don't know enough about them and I don't, right? Like, that's a huge area of opportunity, I think, for a shitload of agents.
Guess what? All you need to do, and you can set a KPI metric on this for 1 week. You can go, map out every builder, go visit them and find out what makes their product, what makes their house stand out from the others, right? Because those sales reps are trained anyway to take you through the pros of how how well their houses are being built, right? What's available, what's coming soon. Do you have anything that's fallen out of contract that you need to sell quickly that maybe you can push out as an opportunity?
Yep.
Right? And I know agents that have done really well that, look, you go sell, several homes with a certain builder or a certain community. Yep. And I mean, it's almost like you work as a sales partner at that, because they take you on some nice trips.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of rewards for that. So I don't know. I just look at it, the way that I see this is that, number one is you got to understand and just know that this market sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Don't believe what people are putting out there on Facebook or any social media. They're like, oh, just another contract. Then you go look at, if you actually go do your due diligence, you go look at all their sales. You're like,
there's little. I went to somebody's page today, and I was like, damn, they're carrying a ton of listings. And I clicked on it, and it was like listed by Jeff, listed by Betty, and it's like, oh,
Jeff and Betty are killing it.
Which is great. I mean, that's cool. Like, that's great content creation on that person's part. But I was just like, this is the type of stuff that kind of makes everybody feel like, just understand, we live in a world now that is, especially in the United States, that is designed to make you feel inadequate.
Yes.
Everything you watch makes you feel inadequate, between filters and and influencers, and I know this is such a cliched thing to say, but like, you just don't need to make that much money. You don't need to look that way. You don't need to do any of that. I am much, much happier turning off everybody else's kind of what I believe their measure of success is than I ever was trying to follow some other person's idea of what my rich life should look like. And I bet most of you are probably doing that too.
No, for sure, because I look at, there's something I sent Kelderman the other day, and I meant to put in the group text, I don't know why I didn't. I was like, we need to get this person on the show, right? They're newer to real estate. They have like 150,000 plus followers on Instagram, and the way that it looks like they're killing it. When you go pull the numbers, it's like, no, it's definitely not. But if you're an agent or aspiring agent, you're going to think this person's selling the moon, right?
We have so many.
We've done that on this show.
That.
I mean, like
so many.
I don't think we launched people's real like Instagram careers or anything, but they're definitely people that like they're much bigger now, and now they have a legitimate platform. Whereas before it was kind of a, I'm just going to say the right things, but I haven't necessarily done all of this.
But it goes to show that perception hopefully eventually becomes reality. So if you're doing that, like there's times when you feel like you're an imposter, that imposter syndrome. But if you believe in the end result and you're not a snake oil salesman, then ultimately you can work towards that and say, look, every day, I know people during the recession that posted every single day like they were out there just slinging houses. They weren't. And it got them through the recession because ultimately people started buying into what that person was posting and saying, hey, let me take advantage of this. So are you doing that? Are you becoming your own media? Because your person who you got to go interview talks about this. You need to be your own media channel.
Manifestation.
Yeah.
We talk about this in like some hocus pocus spiritual quasi-religious word. It's not. Manifestation is a physical, just think of how you feel on a rainy day when you just convince yourself it's better to stay home. Now imagine creating a rainy day inside of your head every fucking day. You're not going to get up and go anywhere. That is, manifestation is a real physical thing that you do to yourself that's not being done to you. It is just, your mind is a beautiful thing. It is also a torturous device if you allow it to be. And that's why I got out of all those groups, dude. I was tired of seeing other people's fear and then putting it on like it was my coat. And I had to leave all that shit, bro. And it's like, I'll tell you, just in the couple of weeks of not being in those groups, I'm less worried about the market and more just like, you know what? We're all going to figure it out, or I'm going to go do something else. I got a lot of life left. So I'm going to figure something out.
You just hit the nail on that. That is step number 4 and should really be step number 1.
We've got 4 steps.
No, it really should be. And we'll wrap on this. Is like, I wonder how different everyone's day-to-day in this business would be. The energy they have around their business, the actions that they take, the passion with which they work, if they lived inside a vacuum where they had no idea what the quote-unquote state of the market was or anything else about anybody else's businesses, right? Like if we didn't live in this echo chamber that made it feel like what you were doing on that day wasn't enough, but what everybody else was doing was just lighting it up, and you didn't live in a world where the news every day told you to think this about, the market or rates or the Fed or whatever. If we literally just didn't know any of that stuff, all we knew was KPIs. If I talk to this many people, then good things will happen, and this is what I need to do to hit my goals. If we just did that without any outside influence, I wonder how much more mentally healthy we would be in working with joy and how much more successful we would be. And if you can make that emotional connection to what everybody else does not matter to you or your business, and all these variables making it tough for you, they're making it tough for you in the same way that every negative thought you have around the future is going to make it tough to live a happy life, right? Like if you just act with passion and positivity and energy and start manifesting those things, your business will 100% follow suit.
Almost feels like we're in episode 203. It's almost like we're in episode 4 or 5 when we just went through all that motivation mindset shit.
I think we're back in a market that require. If you guys remember when we started doing the show, we were coming out of that late 2017, early 2018 market, which was not very much fun either.
No.
And like this is kind of that. And this is the entrepreneurship part of this that I think it just gets. This is where people get. I'm not even tooting our horn too much. We have a podcast. We've been doing this for a couple hundred episodes. People talk to us. I'm sure they think we all have shit way more figured out than we do. And I can just assure you, like, we talk about this stuff, we brainstorm around it, but the only thing that I think makes it different I'll speak for me. The thing that makes it different for me compared to, I think, the normal individual agent is I have people who I trust and that I can brainstorm this stuff around me, and I'm not just sitting there thinking about it all by myself. Because if I was, I probably would exit
That's the
stage
worst
left
part.
so fast.
That's the worst. Like, if you keep it yourself, and that was something I took away from, like, EXP convention was, you go to these things, and, everyone's going, I'm going to tell you the most sought-after class was the AI.
Oh,
Yeah.
They ran so many AI classes there and breakouts, and it was packed. And look, it's great. I understand it. And we might be rolling something out with some opportunities within the podcast show with AI. I'm an AI certified agent with Nick Krim and his people. But I will tell you what I really took away is that people are yearning to that belly-to-belly, that face-to-face networking and masterminding. And they're tired of the Zooms. They're just tired. They just want to come in person, but at the same time, they don't want to go to events that they're being sold.
Yep.
Right? Because if you go look at, like, Justin Nelson, a friend of our show, what Justin talked about is you go see all his posts. He's like, don't throw an event. And if you're expecting 100 people to show up, expect 20 to 30.
Yeah.
So if you're spending a lot of money on it, be prepared to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's because no one wants to be sold a bag of goods, but they do want to go to a mastermind.
Yeah.
And so, that was my really biggest takeaway to go in those things is not all the breakout sessions. Those are good. And you probably, like, I remember at KW is the same way. It's like, I got the most value at sitting at a bar, having drinks, or just, if you don't drink, just there, because I don't drink a lot, but, just having there and being able to talk and people are willing to open up and share.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman who joined EXP in 2016 that crushed it on former KWer, started his own brokerage, did well at that, then saw the opportunity at EXP and crushed it at owning the stock, but not the rest. And the stock has allowed him. He's not having the greatest year. Yeah, the stock has kind of gotten him through. But he's like, I look at guys like you to measure my business to try to help motivate me. And he's like, it's getting back to that face to face, and we've got to start doing those because that's what's going to push us through that other level. Back in 2009 or 10, we started this within the office. We called it group therapy. It was every Tuesday, and we would go over to the bar because they would offer $1 and $2 drinks. And it was our place to go share the shit that was going on, and it wasn't one-upping. It was just kind of we're all getting our teeth kicked in, and it not that misery loved company, but what we did say is like, all right, someone else is having success, we can have success, but at the same time we are going to share our war stories, and it just almost kind of leveled us out, to get us ready for the next day or whatever that may be.
I'm looking forward to having a drink. Day 59. I got 16 more days left.
I'm day one.
I know, you're day one.
Day one. Day one of the 75 hard.
I'm technically said 75 days today with no alcohol because we screwed up, but I haven't drank. It was July 29th.
Nice.
It was a Saturday.
and you went out with a bang.
Yeah, I went out with a bang.
And started day one hungover.
And there was.
Yeah.
There was.
Now, this was a good show. I think we need to do more of this to restart and recalibrate people's mindsets. If you have any good guest introductions, I know that in a couple weeks we have one of our favorite guests, Beth Silverman, coming on.
Birthday girl.
Today's her birthday, so happy birthday, Beth.
Beth.
Yeah, she's going to be coming on and really sharing. And look, she's really come from a standpoint of, money changes hands when problems are solved within the investor market with pad splits. She's crushed it with that and taken that to a whole new level, even starting a certification course. And then obviously, if we don't do really well at real estate, then you need to go support the only real estate podcast worth listening to, merch.
We'll get there.
We'll get that link up.
Yeah. We'll get there.
It can't be that.
Don't
it can't
do it
be
yet.
the only real estate podcast worth listening to, merchandise.com. That's way too long. No one's going to type that on. I think it needs to be tourmerch.com.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah,
We'll
you-
figure it out.
let-
You're being
let-
very
let us-
vague,
No,
Jesse.
we already got the store link in it. We just want to get it out because the store doesn't look the way we want it to look.
Yeah.
Ah,
We're
I
not there
gotcha.
yet.
I
Yeah,
gotcha.
just
Ah.
Tap the
People actually
brakes.
go there.
Tap the brakes.
You know what I
sir.
do. You know what I do. I just drive with this and go with it, and then we're gonna have Kelderman's face on maybe a shirt because you wear those Biggie shirts. I think we need to do a Kelderman shirt.
That would be sweet.
You know,
Especially when it's just a silhouette of the
When
beard.
funds
now.
are low, shit must go.
I might be able to figure that out.
I think
so.
we can make that happen.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then go support our sponsors because funds aren't low for Mortgage Mike because he's giving out all those Mortgage Mike stamp of approval right now at mmgloans.com. And then Theron Smith, Armadillo Home Warranty, protecting, giving that hard shell protection on all the houses. So go to armadillo.one/TOR, TORE. And like we talked about at the beginning of the show, if you're experiencing some clients whose houses aren't selling, they're saying, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to rent it out. Get it over to Dana Wynn at Homeward at DFW. Let her manage that. Let her lease it out. Get the right tenants in there. Your clients will definitely thank you because they're probably not set up to be the best landlords. And then, who am I forgetting? The podcast.
Yeah, Tour Studios.
I thought there was one more in there.
Nope. Two Studios.
Is there not?
TourStudios.com.
Tour Studios.
Yep.
Not yet. We'll
Not
see.
yet.
Yeah.
Not with the merch store. We're going to do that in there. And also, thank you to Jesse enlightened us about something. Thank you to whoever is downloading this thing 2,000 to 3,000 times a month.
Yeah. Just the one person.
Like we had no clue, whoever you are, if you make it to this part of the show and you're just downloading this on all 1,000, 2,000 of your devices at your house, we appreciate it. It's
Been cool.
like,
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, no shit. Like, I didn't
Thanks
realize,
all the moms.
I didn't realize Deborah had so many
Yeah.
extra cell phones.
Mama
at her house
Force,
that
Mama
she was-
Kelderman, and Mama Schultz
No,
over there.
dude, it's crazy. So, anyways, no, 'cause sincerely, when Jesse threw that out there, I was shocked and obviously super pleased. Like that's way more than I would have thought that we were getting.
Look, I will tell you, and I told Matt this morning. I said, you know, as we do continue to do this show and move into episode 300 sometime in the near future, I mean, look at the convention, people are coming up to me talking about the show.
Yeah.
There was a lady at the fair yesterday who legit said, "Hey, Matt Kelderman," as she walked by, and I did not know who she was. The kids heard it and everything, and I was like, I don't know. So if you're watching, I'm sorry, I didn't see who you were.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
that's happened a couple of times.
That's crazy.
I know. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyways,
So until next week, Matt's not on next week's show.
I'm going to be at the grandest of canyons,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
seeing what I see.
Let's
With
see
my
if we
special
can,
truffles.
Maybe if Mortgage Mike wants to come
Mortgage Mike.
Mortgage Mike
Yeah.
should come on.
Might be a good one.
on. Good one.
I'm going to have some stories when I come back. I'm going to be a different person.
Nah.
Some truffles.
Yep. Found some magic
He's
truffles.
going on a journey.
Yeah, I am.
He's going to be on that magic school bus.
See you guys on the other side of the static television. Okay. Well, on
All
that
right,
note,
get us out of
yes,
here.
I don't know.
Yep.
See,
I'll get there.
He gets so caught up in the story.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the Only Real Estate Podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the Only Real Estate Group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review, please. Go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.